Befriend your emotions. The most frequently asked question is how to deal with strong negative emotion, such as anger, hatred, and jealousy. The good news is that those raising these questions are already halfway there. The fact that they are asking the question indicates that they are mindful enough to notice the negative state of their own mind, which is not an easy thing to do. Most people are completely absorbed in their emotions and have limited self awareness. The people who have asked this question noticed what was happening in their minds as they were being swept. When people sense a negative emotion coming on, their first impulse is to control it so that they do not feel overwhelmed or threatened by it. If they can, they would like to get rid of it immediately or flee from it. They rarely think it merits deeper understanding. This is probably why people use such expressions as managing anger or overcoming hatred instead of befriending your emotion. It is difficult to quickly control a strong negative emotion. The more we try to control it, the more it becomes agitated and resurfaces. Even if we control it, we may end up merely suppressing it, only for it to reemerge later. Imagine that a strong negative emotion is like a mud swirling inside a fish tank. To get the mud to sink to the bottom of the tank so you can have a clear view of the fish, the last thing you want to do is submerge your hands in the muddy water and try to push the mud to the bottom. The more you try to push it down, the more you churn it up. Similarly, in an attempt to control a negative emotion, you may try to push it down. Unfortunately, the harder you try, the more it resurfaces. So, what should we do? How can we better understand our negative emotions and try to resolve them instead of suppressing them? The answer is fairly simple. All we have to do is separate the raw energy of negative emotions from linguistic labels like anger or hatred, and then witness it calmly until the energy morphs into something else. What is important here is not to get attached to words like anger, hatred, and jealousy, and instead to witness the raw energy behind the labels. Although it may be subtle, the energy constantly changes while the label remains static. If you peel the label off and get in touch with the raw energy, you soon realize that a negative emotion is only temporary, one that changes without your efforts. Therefore, much like a mirror reflects what is before it without judgment or identification, would the image simply reflect the negative emotion? Let's say it's anger, and watch this passionately. You will see the anger slowly changing shape, either revealing a deeper layer of emotion or disappearing on its own. If another layer of emotion is revealing itself, attend to it the way you did with your anger. When you try to understand something, it's often most effective to set aside your preconceptions and observe it quietly so that the object of your examination reveals what needs to be understood. Instead of diving into the muddy water of your emotion as a way to control it, you could observe it from the outside and let it settle down and transform on its own. As a spiritual teacher, Jiddu Krishnamurti said, pure attention without judgment is not only the highest form of human intelligence, but also the expression of love. Observe the changing energy both attentively and lovingly as it unfolds in the space of your mind. I can imagine someone wondering, what is so great about just observing? Isn't it avoiding reality? The answer is quite the opposite. You are not avoiding it, you are actually staring straight into it. Rather than getting caught in the emotion without any self awareness, you are inquiring and then feeling what is there. As you get better at it, you will realize that the negative emotion is not a fixed reality. It naturally emerges and retreats within the space of your awareness, regardless of your will. Once you awaken to this truth, you will not be swayed by negative emotions and can regard them as a passing cloud instead of identifying with them as a defining part of yourself. Do not fight your negative emotions. Observe and befriend them. If you want revenge because your feelings are hurt, all you can see is your own suffering. But if you calm yourself and look more deeply, you will see that the person who hurt you is suffering too. In the chambers of our heart, we have two tenants, living side by side, Adolf Hitler and Mother Teresa. When we are overcome by insecurity and fear, we feel the inner workings of Hitler. When we are in touch with love and connection, we hear the gentle voice of Mother Teresa. We lose interest in movies or TV series in which good characters are always good and bad ones are always bad. This does not match up to reality. No person is always good or bad. No person can be found who has been, is, or will be, only criticized or only praised. A moral purist who is quick to judge others often fails to see the flaws within himself. When someone criticizes another, you might think he deserves it, but if you look more closely, you'll see that the critic is complaining because he did not get his way. So do not be easily swayed. When you attack someone, it is often because you are afraid. A friend starts talking ill of someone you don't like, and you agree wholeheartedly, but then you can't help but wonder, when I'm not around, does this person speak ill of me too? Gossip can be cathartic in the moment, but it travels fast and can bite you back. The reason you regard me as pure and compassionate is that you are pure and compassionate yourself. When people who don't know you will admire you, they are seeing the projected illusion, not your real self. In contrast, when people who know you will respect you, it is probably because you deserve it. Some ask if swallowing your pride is conceding defeat. I don't think so. Humility is a sign of inner strength and wisdom. When you swallow your pride, real communication becomes possible. We can finally hear each other and eventually solve our problems. When someone tells you no, don't react emotionally and lose control. No may open up a surprising new world to you. No may unexpectedly lead you to good people. If you begin to push back against the unchangeable no, you will suffer in the process and miss other opportunities. Your boss asks you to run an errand that has little to do with your job. Rather than getting annoyed, just do it and let it go. Do not turn something trivial into a major source of agony by wasting time and energy thinking about it endlessly. If I had to summarize the entirety of most people's lives in a few words, it would be endless resistance to what is. As we resist, we are in constant emotion trying to adjust, and yet we still remain unhappy about what is. If I had to summarize the entirety of an enlightened person's life in a few words, it would be complete acceptance of what is. As we accept what is, our minds are relaxed and composed, while the world changes rapidly around us. Do not try to control those around you when you cannot control even your own mind. What makes you think you can control others? Things I liked when I was young but now couldn't care less about. Airplane rides, all you can eat buffets, horror movies, staying up all night. Things I enjoy now that I am older. Mozart, brown rice, meditation, spending time alone, regular exercises. We change without realizing it. We're in the midst of change even now. Do not lament that the world has changed. Do not resent that people change. Evaluating the present through the memories of the past can cause sadness. Whether you like it or not, change is inevitable. Embrace and welcome it. Whether it is an object, a thought, or a feeling, if it has emerged out of emptiness, it will soon change its form and eventually retreat back to emptiness. Spirituality must be practiced, not just in solitude but also among people. Open up to people around you and feel connected. This is the true challenge of spiritual practice. If you are sincere about reaching enlightenment, you can learn even from a child or from the person who insults you on the street. The entire world becomes your teacher. The person leading you towards spiritual awakening is not the one who praises you or is nice to you. Your spirituality deepens because of those who insult you and give you a hard time. They are your spiritual teachers in disguise. How can you tell if someone is truly enlightened? Shower him with both praise and criticism. If he shows signs of being susceptible to either, then it means he has forgotten his enlightened nature. Someone advanced in spiritual practice has the following attitude. In a large community, she lives as though she is alone. She minds her own business without meddling in others. When alone, she acts as though she is in a large community. She follows her regimen without sliding into laziness. When a deep, honest conversation makes us feel connected to someone, we become very happy. The same deep connection with ourselves is possible by wholly accepting who we are and realizing the enlightened nature of ourselves. This, too, is a source of incomparable happiness and freedom. When you are feeling low, quietly observe the feeling without trying to change it. It will change on its own, as if gazing at a tree in the backyard, as if sitting by a river and watching the water flow by. Quietly observe your feelings as if they were external to you. If you observe your feelings in this way for just 3 minutes, you will notice their energy and texture slowly changing. Feelings are often born from a matrix of conditions beyond your control. Just like you can't control the weather or your boss's mood, you can't control the feelings in your body. They are just passing through like clouds in the sky. They too dissipate on their own. But if you take them too seriously and start internalizing them as part of your identity, then you will resuscitate every time you think about the past. Remember that you are neither your feelings nor the story your mind tells about you to make sense of them. You are the vast silence that knows of their emergence and their disappearance.